Hey guys, welcome everyone to the Thinking Out Loud podcast. For today's episode, we have Kunwar with us. Kunwar was one of my fellow mates in the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program, and he himself is a content creator, an angel investor, a two-time founder, worked in consulting with KPMG advisory, and has had a crazy journey till now with a lot of laurels and boards becoming less to capture all the laurels. So Samyak and I are super excited to have Kunwar with us. Welcome Kunwar to the Thinking Out Loud podcast.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me here, and thank you for the kind words. थोड़ा exaggerate कर दिया आपने, but चलेगा.
In your words, karma, bro, karma.
Yes.
Sure. So Kunwar, without wasting any time, right, we would want to just deep dive into your journey and learn as much as we can. Right? So first off, we just wanted to understand your journey, right? Coming from a business undergrad college, then moving to KPMG deal advisory, then moving into a startup which is very tech AI focused, to
Yeah.
content creation, to angel investment. I mean, what any Gen Z could ask for, you have probably done all of that, right? Like in a very short span of time. So can you tell us more on that and how that happened?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my college was very like a mini MBA type college. जहाँ पे सारे लोग were looking to get jobs in either consulting or investment banking, and that's what I fell victim to as well. I mean, for the first 3 years, for the first 2 years in college, मैंने सोचा था मैं नई placements में बैठूंगा, but वो third year जैसी start हुआ और everyone started sitting for placements, तो वो pressure build up हो गया, and I in that pressure only or in that whatever I took a job consulting में KPMG deal advisory, which is I was in commercial due diligence, which the team was investment banking का, but उसमें I was doing commercial due diligence, which is very close to consulting का काम. So I did that for like just dot 1 year, and I had to get out, and I quit my job with I enjoyed working at KPMG. There was no problem there. There was a lot of travel, fun. Everyone was nice, but it I realized कि ये नहीं करना. So I think in life मेरा सबसे simple फंडा ये है कि you eliminate all the things that you don't want to do or the things that you don't like, and you'll eventually end up finding your thing that you like doing, etc., etc. So उसके बाद I quit the job with a very clear focus कि I have to start my own company in something which is scalable, technology related. But obviously I came from a business school and I had no idea कि कैसे चलता है टेक्नोलॉजी वगैरह. सो आई डिसाइडेड टू अप्लाई फॉर दिस entrepreneurship का boot camp type एक course था, like a quick course, and fortunately I got selected there, and that course happened in Australia. So they do like international boot camps, MIT, and went there, and that is where so वहाँ पे कुछ 50-60 countries से there were people who had come from different backgrounds, different stages of life. All of them either were in entrepreneurship already or wanted to start their company. The course was average, but the people I met there were really nice, and that is where I found my co-founders, both Amit and Sarthak, and both came from a tech background. So Sarthak was a computer scientist and Amit is from IIT Roorkee. So when we came back to India, हमने हर week 2 बारी मिलना स्टार्ट किया सीपी के कनॉट प्लेस में जो कैफे कॉफी डे है. वी मेट देयर ट्वाइस एवरी वीक टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म आइडियाज ऑन हाउ वी कुड गेट स्टार्टेड, एंड तब AI was like a very big buzzword. Like everyone, this was 2018, right? So everyone was talking about artificial intelligence, and what can be done with AI, and there were very few commercial applications जहाँ पे आप actually monetize कर पा रहे थे. So there was this thing. So I worked in KPMG. I did a lot of consulting projects for retail clients, and वहाँ पे they were using a lot of data जो काफी पुराना था, मतलब archaic data. It was not real time data. So we decided कि हम retailers से बात करेंगे, store से, and we'll install new cameras in the retail stores. उनसे फुटेज निकालेंगे और उस पर एनालिटिक्स देंगे किस टाइप के लोग आ रहे हैं, मतलब मेल फीमेल, क्या उनका फेशियल रिकग्निशन करके उनका एक प्रोफाइल बनाने की कोशिश करी हमने. So we did that for 6-7 months. We did pilots with Adidas, Benetton, some malls in Delhi NCR. But वो बहुत operational business था and we got really exhausted. कुछ पैसे हम कमा नहीं पा रहे थे. But what that did was we built a small team of 5-6 people and we built some AI algorithms around facial recognition, around taking out data, analyzing it from video footage. So during that time, very interesting incident happened कि गवर्नमेंट ने आधार का केवाईसी बैन कर दिया था. अगर आपको याद हो 2018 में पेटीएम वॉलेट्स में री केवाईसी करना पड़ा था. सो लॉट ऑफ these companies had to do away with the Aadhaar KYC and install a new KYC system. And I fell victim to it. I had to get my Paytm KYC done, जिसमें मेरे को एक retailer के पास जाना था और अपने documents देने थे और उसमें 6-7 दिन लगे. सो दैट्स वेयर वो आहा मोमेंट आया. हमने फिर बैकग्राउंड वेरिफिकेशन कंपनीज, फिनटेक कंपनी सबने सबसे बात करनी स्टार्ट करी. उनके पास कोई सिस्टम नहीं था फॉर automating their customer onboarding or KYC. And that is how Invoid ka main idea was born, where we started building this solution which involved document verification, checking if the person behind the camera is real. And fortunately for us, but unfortunately for the entire world, when COVID happened, everything moved digital. And that's where our business picked up a lot. Matlab, we got a lot of clients then because every company, fintech company, wanted to onboard customers remotely. There was no way we could be in, meet people aisa. So that's where business picked up, and we did crazy volumes when it came to KYC. Matlab, we had like, it's still installed and we still do, like, our product is still doing around 1 million verifications per month, where people get verified using the software that we built. So I think it's very important. मेरे कॉलेज में सबसे मेन प्रॉब्लम यही था कि I did not have anyone around me जिसको tech knowledge थी. So I wanted to expose myself to people who were coming from technology background. And now, I mean, that is something that I consciously made effort towards. So that's how Invoid started. And yeah, I forgot your question.
I agree totally. No, that's fine. But I agree to totally what you said, right? कि
Yes.
MBA college में हम लोग actually जाते हैं to make good contacts and to know the world. Ideally, आप जो college में पढ़ते हो या कोई भी normal MBA school में पढ़ोगे, the same thing might be taught, in a big Ivy League or any good B school. So I was watching this podcast by Pratham Mittal,
Okay.
with Ranveer, the Beer Bicep Show ka. So
Yeah.
he is also from Ivy League, and he was just saying, it's just the status for which parents send their school, children to Ivy Leagues. But at the
Correct.
end of the day, what you study is the same in a normal
Yes.
B school or there. In fact, like
Yes.
the books are also same.
It's the
But
same.
what you get out of it is it's just the contacts, the mindset, and the people you meet there, because the league of people which you meet there and maybe in a normal MBA school is totally different, and that's where you
Correct.
learn a lot. So I totally agree. And how this Invoid came. So how are you still like doing Invoid full time, or it's partial between Unfinance and Invoid?
Only we sold the business last year, and I started. So Unfinance again started as, and I think it's still a passion project because I started creating content just in the lockdown where everything. So that's also like everyone around me started asking me ki how, like, very basic questions. How do you make a Demat account? How do you start investing? Because that's when the interest peaked of people in my age group. And we made like an Instagram page shuru mein, and I don't know how it blew up, how everyone wanted to know about finance suddenly, and still there's so many creators coming up in this space. And so that is, Unfinance is always going to be like a passion for me, where I'll always be creating content. That's what I've realized. But my true love is building products. And like when we sold Invoid, now currently I'm working on a new product which we'll release soon once we're sure कि वो है. अभी हम content is something that we enjoy, and वो एक break मिल गया like between two businesses. So that's what I'm
Understood.
traveling a lot and doing stuff that you can't do when you're running a full-time business.
So what was the reason behind like selling Invoid and moving on? Was it something which you didn't want to do always, or it was just luck, or you wanted to sell it only?
No, the thing is that it was a SaaS business, full SaaS business, and India में जो KYC है, that government is trying to take control of a lot of the stuff. मतलब Aadhaar is again very centralized, and they're trying to get control of a lot of stuff where private companies का scope थोड़ा कम हो रहा था. And since it's a regulated industry, it was getting difficult for us to scale outside India because हर country की अलग-अलग regulation होती है.
Of course.
So there was someone who was interested in the business and wanted to buy, so we were like, it's a good time to sort of exit and move on to better things. There was the only thing was that our full attempt at that time was to scale it internationally as well, because the APIs were very standard that we had built, but regulations was a challenge, and we found a buyer, so we decided to move on. I mean, there was no other reason, to be honest. Yes.
Understood. Fair enough.
Yes.
So, Kunwar, like you spoke about Unfinance, right? Like it's more of a passion project sort of a thing. But I still feel that there are some monetization plugins that you have,
Yes.
put in here, there in Unfinance, and it's growing with your brand as well as
Correct.
Unfinance's brand, right? So, how did that happen that, starting off content as a passion, as a break from, a business to actually monetizing it in some fashion, right? Like, how did that switch
No, I
happen?
mean, there's a very thin line. I can call it a passion, but it's also like a full-fledged business. We have a team of 12, 13 people in Unfinance who's handling all the things that we have. So when we started just as an Instagram page, 3 months later, we realized कि इतना content बन रहा है, तो हमने mobile app भी launch कर दी, which is basically curating financial news in 60 words. That's also a lot of finance. Then we launched YouTube, and right now I'm also focusing a lot on LinkedIn because that's where a lot of people are coming when it comes to content, or I feel the quality of audience is really high. So at the end of the day, it's basically distribution of your content going through different mediums, right? So what we've done is we've created different teams. So app में 3 लोग हैं जो ऐप का कंटेंट संभाल रहे हैं. So monetization basically abhi like I was saying, content has become, I think content creation is a business. I mean, I've had a lot of discussions around this with a lot of people, and people who are seriously monetizing content. There's a lot of ways that you can monetize, yet I think as I was reading this report where 90% plus of revenue still comes from brand deals. So all the brand sponsorships or collaborations that content creators are doing, that is like the maximum or the highest source of revenue for most creators across the world. So for us also, like, we're currently doing a lot of collaborations when it comes to video content. A lot of it goes out on our platform, a lot of it is also for their platform, where we're creating video content that they can use for their platform. Plus we have certain ads on our app, so we use that as well because there's an audience. We're thinking of launching a newsletter, so currently exploring that area as well, talking to people. But yeah, I mean, monetize. And I also recorded my first podcast yesterday, like or 2-3 days back, where I was asking questions, not on the other side. That was also a fun activity. That was my first podcast. We actually did it in a car. फिर Cyber City जाके किया, so we tried something interesting. So let's see how the output comes out. Yeah. So I mean, monetization.
Who was the guest?
CEO of Lane Club, if you've heard of. It's a P2P lending platform. So they're coming up with a new product in P2P lending. So uske around tha. It'll be out in 2-3 days, the podcast. अभी edit ही कर रहे हैं. Let's see.
हमारा भी वही चल रहा है. So we only editing right now we doing everything on our own. So once we have like a 4-5 episodes, we'll like kind of go live. So after you, we have this few in line like Pratham Mittal, Arjun Vaidya, Sonam Srivastava. So we just hanging in there for another 4-5 episodes before going live. So
I think what I realized, podcast is more about like if you're hosting questions and researching other person and then trying to make it interesting and getting stuff out of him more, because that's what is very difficult. मतलब मेरे लिए था शुरू में.
Yeah.
Let's see how it turns out.
Correct. No, absolutely. It will go well because podcast is for me the most intellectual thing amongst all the content types because it gives you real insights on what's
Yes.
happening. And I've heard a lot of podcasts, mainly US based, of Joe Rogan, Tim
Yeah.
Liu, and all those folks. One of
Hmm.
my favorite being Naval Ravikant's
Yeah.
podcast with Joe
So तो
Rogan.
पूरा
It
book
was like
निकल गया यार. I think
हाँ,
podcast is there's a full book
correct.
techniques of that podcast.
Eric की book है, but that book is
Yeah.
it's also very good. So I'm trying to reach out to him also, maybe if he'll come for a
Nice.
podcast, because the book he's written is really good. Like I love the book he's written. I really enjoyed the almanac.
Yes.
So yeah, but I just had one question on your content, and I maybe it may be a very lame question, but you always, or maybe most of the times, right, follow me for honest and real content.
Yes.
So like, do you kind of think that this entire creator economy, there are going to only be a few players who will survive in the long term, or maybe there are players who give gyan on finance, personal finance, or in that time any kind of content, but they
Yeah.
might not be following that themselves. They
Yeah.
just give it to just show that they are following it.
Correct.
What's your take on that, Kuvar?
Yeah, so I use that more on LinkedIn because I personally use
Yes.
LinkedIn a lot to share personal stories there.
Mhm.
So I use that on LinkedIn, but it's very true because matlab, the thing with content is short form content is there is a lot of pressure on you, right? You have to churn out content every day, and when you think about using everything that or every hack or everything that you talk about on your content, it becomes very difficult. So I mean, that is probably why a lot of people can't keep up with that, right? It gets to your mind, the numbers, the views, and also when you're relying on content for money, तो brands भी फिर कहते हैं कम views आ रहे हैं, कम reach आ रही है, तो हम पैसा नहीं देंगे. तो वो एक number game दिमाग में चलता रहता है. That is the pressure, especially with short form content. Most content creators on Instagram आप देखो हर रोज या हर हफ्ते में 5-6 रील्स तो निकाल रहे हैं या 3-4 रील्स निकाल रहे हैं. तो वो रील की रिसर्च वगैरह, मतलब हमें तो 10-12 घंटे लगते हैं सब कुछ करने में. मतलब रिसर्च, फिर रिकॉर्डिंग, फिर एडिट, फिर कैप्शनिंग. आई थिंक 9-10 आवर्स मिनिमम वी टेक टू डू इट. आई थिंक प्रॉब्ली 5-6 आवर्स सबको ही लगता होगा सब कुछ करने में. तो दैट इज द प्रेशर. But my main reason was this because I try to share a lot of incidents that have happened with me or I've used, or even to YouTube long form that I've created like 6-7 videos on YouTube which are more than 8-10 minutes. Those are majorly on things that I've used or I use or are personal experiences. I don't know if and the main reason why I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship or building products is the learning curve, and the things that you learn during that is very high, and that is exactly what you also need to share with people, right? So if I don't have any job or any product, if I'm just a content creator and I'm just 20 years old, then probably my life experiences are very low. मतलब आई कांट इमेजिन बीइंग अ कंटेंट क्रिएटर एट 20 बिकॉज तब मेरे पास कुछ था ही नहीं. मतलब मैंने कॉलेज से निकला था मैं. आई डिडंट हैव एनी ऑफ these experiences that I've had. I didn't have a portfolio or I didn't make mistakes on stocks or insurance or loans. कुछ भी किया है, मतलब कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था, मतलब क्रेडिट कार्ड भी नहीं था. तो दैट इज व्हाई इंस्टाग्राम पे मेजर कंटेंट क्रिएशन अगर आप फाइनेंस के देखो, दे आर वेरी यंग. I think the average age should be less than 25. I'm not sure. So it's very difficult to have the real finance ke life experiences before you're 23, 22 when you're in college. That is one reason why this thing comes across that longevity is difficult. आपको ये 4-5 हैक्स दिखा के आपको व्यूज आ गए, फॉलोअर्स आ गए, बट हाउ कैन यू सस्टेन इट फॉर लेट्स से 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of your life? So that is why I always, whenever I chill or talk to more people in the startup or entrepreneurship space than content creators, because I like those conversations more. Because content creators में बहुत कम लोगों के साथ बात करते हो, जिनसे बात होती है वो ज्यादा followers और views और उस पे बात जाती है, which I avoid personally, and I also avoid consuming a lot of short form content. मतलब that's like a personal choice I make because that's kind of a lot of उसमें वो endless scroll का loop, and then you waste a lot of time there. Yes.
Yeah, I think that loop thing is something which everyone experiences, and that's something which may be avoided if you
Correct.
are not consuming good content, to be honest.
Yes.
But that some you cannot help, and I feel there a book which helped me personally was Deep Work.
Okay.
It was, I'm not sure if you've read it, but if you haven't, please give it a
I read
shot.
Rework
So
recently.
it's
Deep Work नहीं मालूम है.
Rework, so basically it's on like how you can start up your own this thing, how you can use those techniques on your business and stuff. But Deep Work is something on having patches of work where you're avoiding any kind of distractions,
Yes.
having those chunks of time where you are just doing that focused kind of work, and avoiding anything external. So it's a really good book. Give it a shot, because you read a lot, right? So you read 100 pages a day, and that's astounding, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's only been possible in this transition wala period, because I don't have like I'm focusing a lot on content creation, and product building is currently on the PMR stage where I'm talking to a lot of people, so I have time on my hand. But like what you said, having those chunks of productivity or works, like that's what I do. Like I keep one day in a week where I record like 7 to 8 videos, so that the day is kept entirely for recording, then scripting, and everything is divided into patches, majorly because you shouldn't be distracted while you're doing a creative work and making videos or writing scripts. All of this requires a lot of single, like a focused attention on that thing. So that's something that I follow as well when I'm creating content.
Agreed.
So, who are just a follow-up question, right? With the whole builder and building mindset. So, I assume that you were also a part of Y Combinator YC, right? And everyone in the startup ecosystem who's building something new, like for them, YC is like that prized possession, more than profitability as well at times, right? So, can you share your YC experience and how it helped you evolve as a founder and as a person of business?
I think the YC से पहले का part, the 3 times we got rejected applying to YC, was the part that taught us the most. So like the first time we applied for YC, we were pre-revenue. We just started making revenue. We got really good feedback after the interview कि ये missing है ऐसे. फिर second time क्या कुछ revenue आया. By the 4th time when we got through YC, we were already profitable. We were like on our way to like $1 million revenue run rate. So all of those things were already there. The best thing about YC is obviously credibility in the startup space. I mean, you can raise funds easily, and our numbers were good, so we didn't have any problems raising money during YC or post YC. And second is obviously you get connected with a lot of founders in the ecosystem in India, outside India, and their network is huge. I think there are 5,000-6,000 founders. So anytime you have to reach out to someone, you can easily do that with an agenda in mind. Obviously, you can't just blindly keep reaching out. So that is the second thing that is very good about YC. And the third thing, which is less talked about, is कि YC is 3 months, I think, right? And उनका ऐसा demo day होता है where you present to investors at after the end of 3 months. Every week they have like a call where so I think there were 300 startups in our batch, or 350, I don't remember the exact number. So they were divided into 3-4 groups, and every startup in the group was accountable to others in that group and themselves. So we set our own milestones. Let's say we have to reach out to this many customers, we have to reach this revenue milestone. Depending on every startup, the milestones were different, but they were accountable. So they had to tell ki like this was the goal and we are here. So that really creates the discipline. Like right now as well, when I work or when I have certain small targets in my mind, I know like where we are, because you reiterate it to yourself, right? After every week or after every 2 weeks, you have this call or meeting with your co-founder or with your team that this was the target, where are you? And the best part is you set those targets. they weren't given to you by anyone else, right? So you're accountable to yourself and the others in the team or in that space. So that was one of the best things about YC, and that is, I think, exactly why YC is so popular, because most of the YC is setting milestones and then trying to hold yourself accountable कि क्या वहाँ पहुंचे नहीं पहुंचे. So that was the third thing that I really liked about YC. And apart from that, there were a lot of learnings from, they had these sessions from different founders across the world. The only thing I regret is it was like a remote one हमारा time, because it was during COVID. So we couldn't go to Silicon Valley, Mountain View, everywhere there to experience the in-person YC experience. But yeah, good experience.
So what do like YCs expect out of you? Like, is it like the ARR which they see? Is it the product demo which they see? Is it like how many leads do you have? What is the revenue potential? What is it that they see in the first instance?
So like while they're looking at your business, selecting.
Yeah. Like if you're presenting your product, right?
Yeah.
Like what do they actually see in terms of whether the product is good or your revenue, like the annual recurring revenue is going to be good, or what is it that you see?
So their process, so they have a very long, lengthy application form where they ask you everything about your business, team, etc., etc. After that, if you get selected for the interview, it's just a 10-minute interview where you're bombarded with questions. So they're like three partners and or two partners. So the 3 times or 2 times you got rejected, the interview was in Misho's office in Bangalore. So they like ask you questions like anything and everything about your business, and it just gets over in like, and you just feel it's second. Then when you get out, you start realizing कि क्या बोल के आए अंदर कुछ ऐसे idea नहीं होता. But it's mostly a lot about depends on your business, but yeah, they care a lot about your product, its differentiator, its standing, your numbers. They're very particular about numbers, and they're also very particular about the kind of numbers and how confident you are about it. I mean, they get like, if you're lying, they can catch it in a second, because they hear so many pitches every second, every day. I mean, I don't know how many applications they get. So their interviews are like a very good experience also. Like, I mean, everyone who's building a product should apply to IC. And then once you're selected, then is when the batch starts, and then the entire office hours with your partners, being accountable, and you get so many inbound leads from investors, it gets distracting. So that is one aspect of YC where they also tell you during the batch that you have to stay calm. You don't have to reply to every investor and all of those things, because YC में ये होता है कि once you get selected, they tell you that you don't have to reveal you're selected, because the inbound leads start, kind of coming in. So they expect you to not, but through various mechanisms. I don't know how these investors get to know, and they ping you on email that let's have a call, because investors की fight रहती है वो demo day से पहले startup में invest कर दे, क्योंकि valuation कम मिल जाती है. So while getting into YC and till the demo day, I think 10x increase in valuation हर startup का होता है जो fundraise करता है. So that is how credible or how much people kind of value YC का decision. It's like जैसे इंडिया में होता है कि IIT में घुस गए तो अच्छी जॉब मिल जाती है, तो उधर भी it's like that's kind of the validation that you get through that.
Just a follow-up question for our audience. They might not know a lot about how the YC funding works. So if you can just give us a little bit of idea on how they fund. Is it like a cap they have? How much stake do they take in the company if they are investing? And all those stuff. Something maybe if you have signed a safe or something with them. And stuff like that. If you can just give a brief, I think our audience would love to hear that as well.
So they recently changed their investing terms, but till our batch, what they were doing was they were investing $125,000 at a 7% and they don't take equity directly. So you sign a safe agreement, which is like a simple agreement for future equity. It's like a 3-4 pager agreement where you decide that at a 2 million valuation, YC is investing, and whenever you raise a priced round, which is a round where you actually get a valuation, they will get the shares at the pre-decided valuation. And most of the funding after, like during YC, or during the batch happens via safe agreements only. Just the valuation cap is higher. So I think most of the companies raise the cap is more than $10 million once they get into YC, and YC ke starting with it's I think 1.7 or $2 million is what the वैल्यूएशन कैप दे हैव बट अब उन्होंने $500,000 इन्वेस्ट करना स्टार्ट कर दिया है उसमें से 125 इज एट द सेम agreement same valuation or cap and the rest 370 375k is at like in the YC batch जिस भी valuation पे आप raise करो उस पे उनका safe convert हो जाएगा next round you raise so it's like a uncapped ऐसा but it can be converted it will be converted into the valuation once you raise the next round or sign the next safe agreement so now they're investing 500k so the main reason for that was because a lot of companies run out of money during the batch so they want that they have enough cash during and have more runway so that they can focus more on the product and obviously they have more money so they can afford to invest more now in startups so now they're investing 500k at two different terms one is the standard term that they use and the remaining basically अगला जो भी आप safe sign करोगे उसकी valuation cap पे वो convert हो जाएगा so इसके pro cons दोनों बहुत discuss हुआ internet में so if anyone's interested they can go read a lot of content is there about this on the internet.
Got it. So I think this is really interesting, Kunwar, with what Samyak said in terms of, our readers. So now, just shifting gears and moving a little to your personal front, and I think Samyak could be more interested on this than myself. So I'll just have one question and after which Samyak can follow up. So this is something that I got to know about you through the LinkedIn program, is that you end up meeting a lot of celebrities through your flights. And I don't know if this is something that you always plan for or this is something that happens randomly, but there is some learning or some takeaway that you have through all these meetings. So could you just tell us more about how this works? Like, is this some sort of sorcery or something and your learnings from
there is nothing is planned here. It's just that, I mean, I save and invest a lot of money and I spend most of my money on travel because that's what I like doing and I really enjoy. And through KPMG, I learned that I started traveling alone also. So I'm comfortable with that thing also. I don't know why it happened. I just run into some people at airports and yeah, there is nothing planned there. And it's been happening for a lot of years. I mean, I think most of the times whenever I've gone to Mumbai कोई ना कोई तो मिलता ही है मुंबई की फ्लाइट में या कोई ना कोई तो होता ही है but even generally I have bumped into a lot of people at the airport. I remember when I was very young we ran into Big Show at the US airport. That was I didn't take a picture with him but हाँ ऐसे airport पे बहुत लोग मिले हैं मतलब I remember running into Vidya Balan Annu Malik, I don't know a lot of these people, most of them these actors and very coincidentally आज हमारे ऑफिस में भुवन मैम शूटिंग करने आया था एंड अभी मेरे को पता चला एक कोई बहुत बड़ी वैनिटी वैन थी जिसपे ऐसे प्रोडक्शन हम मजाक कर रहे थे उसका कुछ बी लिखा था कि हो सकता है भुवन मैम वो अभी टीम का मिस जाए वो एक्चुअली भुवन मैम तो वो अगले 3 दिन रहेगा ऑफिस में आई प्रॉब्ली मीट हिम टुमारो और डे आफ्टर नहीं उनसे भी मिले रहेंगे बट हाँ learning most of the people that I've ran into airports I haven't had a conversation with them apart from Ankur Raj because वो साथ like he was in my flight sitting next to me that was also very like weird but we had a long discussion with Ankur Variko on that but there's no learning or nothing planned here I mean nothing interesting just a photo and probably क्या करते हो क्या करने ऐसा कुछ मतलब basic सा nothing more than that. Yes.
So I think my follow-up question was on the Ankur Warikoo post only which you had. So
Yeah.
what is it that you learned from him that maybe helped you in your content creation journey? And
Yeah.
you made your content maybe a little more better or maybe a lot better than what it was previously.
Yeah, well, like उस time पे ना हमारा like I had just started making content on YouTube and he said कि YouTube पे long form focus करने वाले focus on shorts whatever reels that I worked on Instagram posted on YouTube again and try out a lot of different variants. And that's what I did. I think when we met Ankur Warikoo, I had like barely 5,000-6,000 followers on YouTube. We just crossed 100K on YouTube, majorly through shorts on YouTube. So he does a lot of, he has a team or a people, 2-3 people who do a lot of analytics, check a lot of, because YouTube is rich with analytics. And I have started loving YouTube because there's so much that you can learn about your content pieces. It's crazy. Matlab, so what I do now, before posting any content on Instagram or anything, I post it on YouTube. उसके बहुत सारे stats आते हैं. मतलब it's amazing, the video completion rate, कहाँ पे audience drop off हो रही है, what kind of people, how they're coming onto your content. And he told me that he has like a dedicated resource or / resources जो analytics बैठ के देखते हैं YouTube पे, which is like something that I have also seen. And I saw one person tweeting कि how they are scaling Ankur ka Warikoo shorts wala channel by changing heading ke 2-3 words. And I've done a lot of those experiments and they actually work. Like the same video, I do a lot of experiment on LinkedIn as well, like posting the same content in different formats, and they seem to give different results. So that's what's interesting about YouTube, because there's a lot of thing that Instagram पे पता ही नहीं चलता. मतलब completion rate तो best discovery थी YouTube की. That's what I'm trying to focus more. I want my viewers to watch our full video. Like it has to be written in a way that they stick to at least 85-90% of the video. That's what one thing. And second thing, since he's also an entrepreneur and product वगैरह बना चुके, तो I was talking to him about what he is looking at for the next year. तो उनका तो full focus content ही है. I was thinking he will be वो भी कुछ product सोच रहे होंगे, but yeah, his major and one thing that Ankur Warikoo is very lucky, he gets a lot of deal flow when it comes to startups. A lot of startups want him on board as an investor or as brand ambassador, whatever they can call him. So वो भी एक interesting aspect of becoming a content creator is that you can, more than money, you can also provide a lot of feedback or audience access through your to the people that you have. And I was traveling with my sister, and Ankur Warikoo's wife is the person who manages Ankur Warikoo, and my sister was working in urban company then as the influencer marketing specialist. So they also knew each other. So that was also she knew both of them had spoken because they did some campaign with Ankur Warikoo. So yeah, small world. I didn't know that they both know each other.
Very small world. Yeah. So I have one thing, like I find Ankur's content really genuine. Like he just opens up his heart and gives content to people. Like there's nothing which he's hiding, or maybe he's just showing off to kind of just put content on YouTube or maybe any platform. So that's one thing I really love about him. And the second two things on the insights and the LinkedIn thing which you said, right? So one thing is I follow this guy called Saptarshi. He's a designer in Swiggy, lead designer in Swiggy, I think.
I might have
so what is, yeah, you would have seen his Instagram and YouTube page, both are really good. You should just check it out. So one thing he says that his frame, right, when he records a video, after recording any edits of video, his frame does not go more than 5 seconds in one position. So if I'm talking to you right now, after 5 seconds, my editing will be changed. Maybe I'm focusing more on my thing, or maybe I have a image which comes in. So that keeps audience engaged, because every 5 seconds they're watching something different.
Correct.
So that's one thing which I learned. And second thing I learned from LinkedIn is that if you have an image on your post, or if you don't have an image on your post, both will have really different impressions for some reason. Like LinkedIn maybe pushes that content more, or what, I don't know what their algo. But a post with image and without image will have totally different impressions in terms of how they reach people.
Look, group chat, like people stop and wait, photo bhi dekhna hai, all of this thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So these two things are something very interesting I learned of late from maybe this guy and about about LinkedIn. So maybe that's the thing.
LinkedIn pe ek aur cheez I noticed was that so LinkedIn pe there are a lot of posts आपकी भी होंगी which have crossed, let's say, 1-2 lakh in impressions, right? But there will be some post where you will be getting a lot of followers from. So that is so like whenever you post like an emotion, like for me, I haven't posted a lot of personal, I say, emotional stories, but most of the followers that I've gotten from LinkedIn are when I posted about a useful hack or something which they can probably use, or उससे बहुत followers आते हैं if even if the impressions are very low. So that is something like people post a lot of
Right.
stories on LinkedIn, right? So like let's say I posted about Rakesh Jhunjhunwala recently that got a lot of likes, but उससे followers बहुत कम आए because it was a story, people were very emotional then, etc. But whenever you post which has something useful in it, that will always get you that will always get people interested in your content, and they will definitely follow you अगर उसमें कुछ
Understood.
useful है, kind of like that. Yes.
Understood. So I think we are towards the end now, and I think we have two questions. First one I'll take, and maybe I'll let someone take the last one. First
Sure.
is I saw your post on you getting into 5 top colleges for your MBA after appearing for GMAT, but you did not take up any of them. Why would you do that, and like what was the entire reasoning behind that?
So I think when I quit KPMG, उसके आसपास ही I gave my GMAT, and I don't know why I gave the GMAT, and तब मेरे को ये realize हुआ कि पहले job लिया जो नहीं लेना चाहिए था. So I had to give entrepreneurship a try, and that is why MBA तो it was a no brainer कि नहीं करना. And plus I mean I talked to a lot of people, and I realized very early that it is always about the network that you mentioned, right? Starting with the network that you're building, or probably a little bit about teachers also in the school, but that was secondary for me back then. So my primary goal was to build a good network and build a good business. And I realized that MBA will be a lot of my time wasted, which can be used to build a product, and that's what I did. And then once you build a product, you already start interacting with a lot of people that you connect with, that you resonate with. तो फिर वो need भी नहीं लगी MBA करने की. And I'm not against MBA, to be honest. A lot of people, my good friends from college, are currently doing their MBA, and I think I'm visiting their campuses. They're beautiful, and everything is good, and you obviously get a lot of salary jump, वगैरह वगैरह, but I don't think it's for me. First is I don't want to do a job. I want to build things, and building things, I would rather invest a lot of that money in my business or my time in that business. So that's the main reason that I don't think going for an MBA makes sense. And then there's the second debate of MBA in the US or outside India, or MBA in India. That's a different topic, but yeah, MBA, it's पढ़ाई तो मैंने जो अंडरग्रेड में करी है वो भी MBA वाली करी है. I've studied all the subjects to MBA में थी, so it's only about the network for me, I think, or the credibility. And I think credibility also, there are various ways to build credibility. You don't need a degree from a Ivy League college to get credibility now. आई थिंक आजकल तो वो भी फैंटेसाइज हो रहा है ना. लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज आर सेइंग, आज PwC ने बोला शायद कि हम MBA नहीं चाहिए हमें, या डिग्री नहीं चाहिए, कुछ ऐसा. आई डोंट नो, आई रेड ऑन LinkedIn only, not sure. कुछ ऐसा.
I think now credibility is more on like your CV as to what you have done. Like if you have done a startup, before, or something which is like more than an MBA degree, right? You have taken those risks to understand or build a product. Maybe you would have failed, right? Maybe that wouldn't have done well. But they know that this guy has done something out of the box, and it's not just a traditional MBA or something like job karo after finishing your studies. So maybe that really helps, and now maybe the employers are understanding those things.
Plus, it's also a lot about your self satisfaction. Well, अपने उसमें भी you're also feeling a little bit more relaxed and happy now what you want to do. और तो MBA कॉलेज में I'm pretty sure वो वाली चीज तो होगी ना जो अंडरग्रेड में थी कि जॉब चाहिए, and best job चाहिए, and package and all those things. Those pressures creation वाली environment I don't really like, because वो creative freedom आपका restrict करते हैं. That is why I'm saying like most people in the content space are already pressurized a lot with views, with likes, with ये सारी चीजें कि क्या viral हो रहे हो कि नहीं हो रहे, कि वो आपका creativity block कर देते हैं. तो वो is something that is there in every field, everywhere, I think. It's just content में बहुत high है, बहुत quick है. मतलब आपका तभी
Correct.
आपको पता चल जाता है कैसे चल रहा है, तो वो इसलिए it's too
Understood.
yes.
Fair. Totally agree.
So, Kuvar, just one last question from our side.
Sure.
And, this is again to talk about your second nature of building products, right? You said you are working on something. So, could you just briefly share on, what is it about? So, that's like my first question. And the last question, again, from your take that, you are trying to read at least 100 pages a day. So,
Yes.
a few book slash blog recommendations for the audience in terms of what can they read to get some insights on building products as well as building content.
Got it. So when it comes to books or product or blog recommendations or podcast recommendations, so I recently read this book. I think you guys must have seen it. It became really popular. It's called Just Keep Buying by Nick Maguli. He's been a journalist, writer, etc. तो उसके बाद मैंने book तो
One
अच्छा
point,
था.
I just ordered it. Came day before yesterday,
Yeah.
so I'm really looking forward to read it.
No,
I
book
just
is
ordered it
decent.
after
Book के
I
कुछ
can see
parts
it.
are something. Sorry, there's a lag. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying I ordered that book after
Yeah.
seeing your post, and I'd seen maybe a couple of other posts on the
Yeah.
same book. So I have
Yeah.
not yet started it. I don't know how good the book is, but yeah, looking forward to your review on
Book
it.
is good, not as good as a lot some other finance books, but उनका blog check करना. I don't know what it's called, but he writes a lot of very interesting stuff. There's a lot of data involved in his writing, which I love. मतलब whatever he explains is with data, with that's something that's very interesting. So after reading his book, I discovered his blog, which I absolutely loved. And I think blogs are very underrated. आजकल लोग blogs पे इतना focus नहीं कर रहे. And तभी we're also looking at creating newsletters because there's a lot of things that I've made so much content and I feel very irritated and agitated जब एक video 60 seconds का होता है और उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें आप बोल नहीं पाते. So I want to create a lot of backstory towards content. So that is something that we are probably going to solve with newsletter or blogs. So this is something that I read. Then I recently discovered this book. I don't know why I hadn't read it before. It's called Joys of Compounding. What a beautifully compiled book with it has learnings from some of the best investors in the world, not just about investing, but a lot of other things, their thoughts on life. He quotes a lot of Charlie Munger in the book, and I'm not sure if you've read the book, but you should definitely.
Yeah. Gautam Baid, right?
Yeah,
Gautam
what a
Baid.
book. I don't know why I hadn't read it,
It's really
but
good book.
very good book.
So
And it's fun.
even if the book is like a compilation, I would say like how Eric Jorgensen compiled
Yeah.
Naval, he's
Yeah.
compiled maybe a lot of Munger and
Yeah.
Buffett.
Yeah.
But that book is really good if you just want to a compilation of their logic
Very
and
good.
their theory
Yeah.
and how it's amazing. I agree.
Like when you think about them, right, most of them are people who are I don't know 70, 80, 90 years old. So all of the key learnings, and some of them you can't find it on the internet so easily because internet के सारे जो content है वो clickbait पे बने हैं. Like top 10 quotes by Charlie Munger. चार्ली मंगर ने कितनी बातें बोली होंगी, मतलब he's been doing the meetings with Warren Buffett for, and that's what I really liked about the book. And उसके बाद I read the almanac of Charlie Munger also. That's also very beautifully written because I got so intrigued with the thought that there is so much about Charlie Munger that I don't know because it's not there, not out there in the open. So that's also one thing that you can read. And when it comes to product, right, A16Z जो एंडरसन हॉरोविट्ज है उनकी podcasts बहुत अच्छी हैं, उनकी interviews with entrepreneurs are very nice. I read this book which was average by the LinkedIn founder, Masters of Scale, also recently. That's also a lot on product building and entrepreneurship. Then I read his blog and his podcast also. And then obviously I think 0 to 1 is also one book which is like a must read for all people looking to build. And again, it's very popular, but it deserves the popularity it has. It's also very, again, that's also not entirely written by the person, again helped by one of his students at Stanford, etc. There's one book which I think it's also on my table, Abhi. I don't know why this book is not popular. This one, have you guys read it? It's not popular at all,
No,
but I
heard
discovered it.
first time.
Yeah, very good book. It's very practical. He talks a lot about how you can achieve financial freedom earlier than you expected, how you can have that number in your mind that you want to achieve when it comes to. He talks about very practical ways in the book कि कैसे आप वो कर सकते हो. I think probably by the end of the year I would have read most of the books on finance investing though that have been written. Some are really
Yeah.
bad also. Some are really generic and yeah, I've bought a lot of weird books, but yeah, and even YC posts a lot of good videos on startups and on founders and problems they face and अलग अलग stages में. So वो भी अच्छी उनका भी YouTube अभी recently they've started creating more content, but they have a lot of good content there. And I'm sure नवल की बात हम already कर चुके हैं and that is one book. उसके अलावा I can probably share a list अभी ऐसे दिमाग में नहीं आ रहा. But I think there's one aspect which is very less covered in books, which is tax saving. A lot of people get interested by tax saving आजकल, and there's no good book. This was the last book that I saw on tax. अभी मैं पढ़ा था 2016-17 की है ये. Taxpayer to tax saver, and उसके बाद इसकी editions आनी बंद हो गई. It's a good book, good compilation of tax saving techniques that this guy has mentioned.
Is it just for India or
Yeah,
is
India
it like
based.
global as
India.
well? Okay.
Yeah, India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yes. But it's not relevant. A lot of it has, for example, 2018 में तक long term capital gain नहीं होता था इंडिया में shares
हाँ
पे.
हाँ हाँ.
So उसके बाद मतलब there are a lot of things that are not relevant now. But yeah, I couldn't find good books on tax in India. If you know, you can let me know. Tax is a very interesting subject, I think. Also
Sure.
intrigues a lot of people. But I think the habit is important. No, once you start reading 10, 15, 20 pages or blogs or anything in a day, and my only filter is they have to be kind of timeless in nature. वो एकदम वो trend वाला एकदम वैसे नहीं होना चाहिए because then there is no learning or no absorption. And the second thing that I've started focusing on recently is how do we make sure कि जो आप पढ़ रहे हो आपको याद रह रहा है या फिर वो आप एक जगह accessible रख रहे हो. So अभी तो मैं बहुत ही basic तरीके से करता हूँ. मतलब I create folders and I click photos of the pages. It's very basic. I should probably do something better than this, but that's what I've started doing now and make some notes. But वो notes आप कभी पढ़ते नहीं हो until it's digital. No, that's the issue. You won't open a notebook and read the notes. That's the problem with notes. I think if IC की अभी मैंने एक podcast सुनी थी कहते the most useless thing that people do is create notes on physical paper which no one reads after that note is made. So it's better to store it digitally, Notion या किसी जगह पे. But that's too much effort. You're not reading, you're not studying, right? You're reading. तो study वाले mode में let's say अगर आप सोने से पहले पढ़ रहे हो then how do you kind of keep it for yourself? So I click pictures because phone आपके पास हमेशा होता है. That's what I've started doing.
Yeah. So just a couple of maybe recommendations from my end. There's one book on product which you may like. It's called Hooked.
Yeah.
It's a very good book. Maybe if you want to try. Hooked करके एक book है. It's a very very good book. The second book obviously I'll recommend is because we spoke about note taking, right? So there is this book called How to Build a Second Brain.
How to Build a Second Brain.
Yes. It that also is a very good book. You can just try those two out. Both are like really good books. You might.
How do you discover books to read? How do you go about finding books?
I follow this guy called Ali Abdal on. Obviously,
he talks a lot of productivity. That's why you're giving a lot of productivity recommendations.
Yes.
Nice.
So I like those books a lot, which he recommends. Two of them were really good, which I read. One was on personal finance as well. I've forgotten the name, but I can like send it to you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, please.
But that is a really good book on personal finance. So obviously, I'm sure you would have read Psychology of Money. Right? That's like an all-time. I really love that book.
But Psychology of Money is a very new book. I recently found it's not a very old book.
Yeah. Last year I think it was
so
launched by
popular.
Morgan House.
Yeah, it got so popular in 1 year. Love how
it's amazing. It's too simple for a layman to understand.
Yeah,
And I feel it's a very good read for someone who doesn't know jack shit about personal
yeah,
finance,
correct.
right? So that was my book recommendation. On the podcast, because you said timeless podcast, so two podcasts which I read a lot. One is the Farnham Street, the FS blog, that is
Hmm.
by Shane Parrish,
Okay.
and there is one blog called the Curiosity Chronicle. There's a guy on Twitter called Sahil Bloom. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if you
I've seen him. Yeah, I've
follow
seen
him.
Kyle Bloom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
have.
his newsletter is called the Curiosity Chronicle.
Oh,
They are
nice.
amazing blogs, like really good. Like he writes on anything and everything. It's not that he'll write on productivity. So he has this format that one quote, he's reading about, one Twitter thread, one particular topic he read about this week or he wants to write. So these two blogs are like my all-time favorite, at least which I
Nice.
read consistently
Kyle
on a
Bloom का
daily
मैंने बस
basis.
Twitter देखा. I haven't seen his newsletter. I'll
He's
probably.
good. If you can just subscribe, maybe read a couple of them. If you like it, maybe you can
Yes.
make it a habit.
Nice. Would
So
definitely
yeah,
check it out.
I have last question, Kuvar, before we close. I think I missed it because you
Okay.
create a lot of content on personal finance and everything. What is your definition of financial freedom, or maybe something in related to when will you be satisfied that I have X amount of money, so I
Yeah.
am financially free? Like for our viewers, what will they
Yeah.
think of financial freedom as, or how should they think?
So first is that first definition that or things that we need to clear is that people, even I used to or confuse financial independence with freedom, right? Financial independence is when you don't have to rely on someone else for your finances. Financial freedom is when you have enough money to not trade your time or you trade your hours to work. This reminds me, Lifestyle Investor is also good if you haven't read it. It's a very interesting take on different take on how you should think of equity investments. He's more towards cash flow investing. But yeah, so my basic understanding of financial freedom is I try to uh, cover all my basic expenses or the expenses that I've projected 10 years down the line, let's say when I have a family, etc., by income sources that I don't have to work for. So let's say dividends, rental income, or some projects that I don't have to dedicate a lot of time on to generate money. So once that is covered, let's say most of the people spend, I think, 60-70% of their salaries or monthly income on house, food, and transportation, right? So if you can eliminate those expenses by creating enough passive income, then you've essentially achieved kind of financial freedom where you can invest your entire income on whatever you want to invest on. So that is what I have been doing, and I've been pretty successful when it comes to eliminating these expenses in a way by trying to uh, uh, match them with my passive income sources. And once you have that, then I think most of the things or uh, products you build or the things you do are the things that you really like, because then you're not doing it just for the money, right? So that is the basic definition of financial freedom. It starts by having enough money to sort of not work for, let's say, 1 year. You can have those things, that amount in your bank account, but at the end of the day, it has to be something that it has to be correlated to a number, right, in your mind. So the younger you are, you need less money because then it compounds. This is something that I learned from some of these books or blogs that I've read. So that is one thing, but people still confuse financial independence and financial freedom, and people tend to overestimate the money they require to achieve financial freedom. So once you have built in that discipline of investing and saving, is when you start thinking about money seriously. And one recommendation or one thing that I really want people to start doing is just spend 5-10 minutes of your day or at least of your week thinking about how you can uh, maximize your income or money generating potential and manage you can manage money better. That is something that people take for granted. A lot of people in my company also don't have an investing discipline, people who work for us. and I was having this discussion with them today only because they are still confused कि investing कैसे करनी है या फिर कैसे save करनी है salary. वो basic questions ही अभी बहुत मुश्किल हैं जो clear नहीं हुए हैं लोगों के, and because lot of people, and I think it's mentioned in Psychology of Money also, a lot of people in the lockdown got into investing just looking for instant gratification or quick returns, and none of them have built a discipline. किसी का भी discipline नहीं है. No one's investing regularly. Like most of the people I know, they don't invest regularly or they don't have an investing discipline. Very few people have been able to build that, and that is why I am saying it's, जो आपने शुरू में सवाल पूछा था कि वो लोग खुद जो कंटेंट क्रिएट करें क्या उनमें इन्वेस्टिंग डिसिप्लिन है, बिकॉज दे हैवंट हैड दैट लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस जो मेरे पास भी नहीं है, बट इट्स जस्ट आई हैड जस्ट इनफ लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस टू हैव created income for myself, invested that money, etc. So वो चीज बहुत important है, having that investing and savings discipline that people lack, I feel.
Understood. So yeah, thanks for the insight. I think that was really good what you said. जो आपने financial independence or freedom का difference बताया. I think that many people may not understand also, which you kind of try to explain, because they
Yeah.
just understand that independence or freedom तो same ही होगा, क्या difference है.
मतलब
And
probably
that
हो
was
भी
a
सकता है
good
सेम,
insight.
हो भी सकता है, बट मैं उसको ऐसे देखता हूँ कि इंडिपेंडेंस अचीव करना इज लाइक द फर्स्ट स्टेप वेयर यू डोंट हैव टू रिलाई
Correct.
ऑन एनीवन एल्स फॉर मनी, एंड
Yes.
देन फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम इज way ahead of financial independence, because that is something
Correct.
that most people aspire to reach and they are not able to reach, because once people start earning more they increase their lifestyle expenses, तो वो
Understood.
achieve करना ही बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है लोगों के लिए, which is again a
Understood.
very interesting concept of lifestyle creep, where people increase their lifestyle expenses more than they increase their income in
Understood.
year. Yes.
So first maybe replace your current income sources and then maybe work on getting financial freedom, which you
हाँ.
need maybe 10, 20, 30
Well,
years later.
हाउसिंग, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एंड फूड, ये तीन अगर आप किसी तरीके से पैसिव इनकम से फंड कर सकते हो, देन आई थिंक योर जॉब इज डन, बिकॉज दैट्स द मेजर एक्सपेंस फॉर एनीवन इन
Agreed.
द वर्ल्ड. यस, एंड इसमें एक वो देसी तरीका तो है जो हमारे पेरेंट्स वगैरह कर ही रहे हैं कि अपने घर को 2 फ्लोर पे बनाओ, नीचे वाला रेंट दे दो, सो दैट योर रेंट
हाँ,
गेट्स और योर मॉर्गेज गेट्स फंडेड बाय दैट. सो वो
मोटेल स्टाइल, आप वही मोटेल
Yeah.
करो जहाँ आप जॉब
हाँ.
चला रहे हो. वेरी गुड बुक.
Yeah.
आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द बुक. द धंधो इन्वेस्टर.
धंधो इन्वेस्टर,
I
हाँ
don't know
मैंने
if you read.
Yeah, yeah,
उसमें
yeah.
ये
गुजराती,
concept था कि
yes,
you know
yes, yes.
US में Gujaratis after they moved and then they started motel and they started.
नाइस बुक, अच्छी बुक थी, मैंने
Yes.
पहले पढ़ी थी,
Yes.
बट अच्छी बुक थी. मोनीश पबराई की तो थी. Yes.
Monish Pabrai.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Another
Nice
good
book.
fund manager.
हाँ, he's also a Munger fan. I've seen like
Yes, yes.
3 or 4 doors.
He paid thousands of dollars to have lunch with Warren Buffett. I don't remember the exact amount, but वो
Yeah.
उनका Buffett का वो रहता है ना, where they auction or they kind of bid for
Yeah.
something and then they get a lunch with Warren Buffett. So he was one of those who had that.
So I have like one question before we end this for you guys. So
Sure.
because you just mentioned this right now, so when it comes to you asked me also what, like when it comes to meeting people that you really admire, or you let's say you follow them or you've read their book, what is the kind of thing that you expect कि उनसे मिलके आप पता लगा सकते हो, मतलब कि या फिर आप चाहोगे उनसे पूछना, मतलब is that something that you like when people say that they would want to, like for example जब मैंने अंकुर वारिको वाला भी फोटो डाला, they were like I would love to have 2 hours with Ankur Warikoo on a plane. Well, I was just thinking to myself तब कि what would they extract out of that meeting, that in those 2 hours, or how will they approach this, or how do people approach this at the end?
So I'll go first. Maybe then Samarth can take. So what my take is that I cannot live an experience of 100, 200 people in my life, right? Either I take this experience via reading books or maybe by talking to people, right?
Yeah.
So just say I am talking to you today, right? So I got a lot of insights on, you building a product, you reading
Yeah.
so many books, your take on maybe financial independence, freedom.
Yeah.
So all these insights maybe I wouldn't have had if until I would have read some book on that, or maybe I would have spoken to someone. So मेरा
Correct.
तो वही है कि I want to speak to people to know about their journey and to incorporate something which they learned. For me, it's very simple. कि, to read about Buffett is what to know how he invests. Right?
Yeah.
आज एक बंदा 90 plus है, right? He has 6 cokes a day.
Is that
and
true?
has a
I'm still not.
100% true.
एक महीने में
He's a big
डॉक्यूमेंट्री
brand
में देखा
ambassador. नहीं
है।
नहीं, वो
I've
100% ट्रू है. वो लोग कोक एजीएम में सामने
AGM
ही
में तो
रखते हैं,
रखता है वो,
3-3, 4-4
AGM में तो
कैन.
he keeps it, I know, but 6 cokes a day is
Yes.
too much.
So he's someone who survived that after having 6 cokes a day for like 50 odd years, just
Yeah,
because he's happy with the work he's doing. He's
correct.
not stressed at all, right? He's living a very happy lifestyle. He lives below his needs. He has a very frugal lifestyle. एक बंदा 40-50 साल से एक गाड़ी यूज कर रहा है और एक
Yeah,
घर पे रह रहा है, right?
correct.
And he has a partner also who's living that kind of life. So he has nothing
Correct.
more to get out of his life. तो
Yeah,
मुझे वही है कि I would want to understand how these people live so that I
yeah,
can maybe incorporate some of those things which I am able to, and
yeah.
then maybe learn out of it. So that's what I take out of a conversation with you, maybe, or maybe if I get a chance to sit with Ankur Warikoo, or maybe speak with Warren Buffett for
Correct.
that matter.
I think
So
he's
that's my
implementing
take.
with what was the first book that you said, distraction wala, वो जो batches है, हाँ,
Deep work.
he's implementing that at scale. The only reason he stays
Exactly.
as is he doesn't want any distractions that probably would have been in New York or whatever,
Exactly.
California.
That's why he is in like Ohama. He's
Yeah,
not sitting there in Wall Street, right?
correct,
And
correct,
he reads like 500 pages a day, has a cell phone which might not have WhatsApp, is what I
correct.
understand, and has a PC which he hardly uses uske
Yes.
office mein. So that's, and Berkshire Hathaway being a mammoth, unka office ka tour agar, I don't know if you've seen, go
Yeah, I've seen
to
him.
this video. So it's like a very normal office. He
Yeah,
doesn't
I've
have
seen
this
him.
lavish office
Yeah,
where you have
yeah.
people.
I
So
went
that's
to
the
the
lifestyle very
Berkshire
interesting.
annual general meeting this year, no, US
Oh
में.
wow,
Omaha में. That
wow,
was my
wow.
birthday gift to myself. It
Oh wow.
was on my
I
birthday.
am assuming it would have been like a great experience.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like the entire city, Omaha, was filled with people for just this meet. That's the only weekend where there's so many people in Omaha. Like that's the
Right,
only
of course.
one of the only, I think the only thing where Omaha attracts so many tourists in like a single
Understood.
weekend. The crazy.
I think Ramdev Agarwal goes for every of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
AGMs.
इस बार पता नहीं वो आए थे कि नहीं, but हाँ, very few Indians, and even if he had come, he would have been like in the. There are so many
Yeah,
investor meetings where like some of the top fund managers, they have like small meetings or like sessions with people who are interested. So it's a good. I think everyone should go there. It's just very difficult to reach there. 3 flights, like, and then a lot of money spent. But yeah, worth it. Yes.
absolutely.
So again, I mean, just to double click on what Samyak said, like my take to this is also the experiences and the life journey that these individuals have had, right? Like, I think
Nice.
Samyak summed it up really well. And more than that, it's more about the finer nuances or the different perspective with which they looked at things, right? Like your observation of how you started Invoid, but that one aha moment, and
Yeah.
that just pivoted your entire journey. So I don't think any textbook or any course can teach you that. It's just that person's insight or optics to things, and that is just something that we can learn through such conversations. So I think for me it's that different optics of looking at things and situations,
Correct.
to be
No, definitely. I
very
mean,
honest.
my only thing here is that how do you get those things out of that person? I'm sure Ankur Warikoo has to share a lot, but the skill is to get that out of that person is something which is very difficult in, let's say, one meeting, or how
Yeah.
on in, I don't know, setting up like a call or a
Maybe
meeting.
if we didn't have like this time slot कि मैं 8 से 9 ऐसे तो 8 to 9 maybe we'd have slot, but we short up because the conversation was really interesting. But if we didn't have a cap and we were talking, maybe we would have a conversation for like 2-3 hours, to be very honest.
Those
So
are better, I think, actually. But हाँ, उसको फिर वही होता है कि how do you edit that and how everything happens, because most of the, like, I've done very few 7-8 करे हैं मैंने बस ऐसी podcast conversations, and most of the conversations get very interesting after that, because I think first half an hour should be we just discussing random stuff so that we become
Correct.
comfortable with each other, and then we get into the podcasting mode where we
Understood.
talk. That's very
Yeah.
important, I feel.
Maybe we can do one more with you when you have some time.
गाड़ी में करेंगे. I think that's really interesting. मिलके.
Perfect. We'll probably come to Delhi to just see you.
Yeah, whenever you're here in Delhi, Gurgaon, let us know. Happy to host you
For sure.
and take you around. Yes.
Absolutely. But this was an honor. It was absolutely like great conversation with you, Kunwar. So thank you
Same.
for your time, and I think we took like a little more than 1 hour of yours. So sorry
Yeah.
for that. But it was a really good conversation. So thanks you for coming on to
Yeah.
our podcast.
Thank you so much, Samyak. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I'm sure you will have better podcast after this. I didn't have a lot of to share, but yeah, probably next time. Yes.
No, absolutely. We'll catch up very soon, and let's
Done.
keep in touch, Kunwar.
Thank you so much, guys.
All the best for your new venture and your coming content.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope you
Best of luck, guys.
just grow.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank
Kunwar.
you.
See you.
Bye bye.
See you
See you.
around. Bye.
Thank you so much, Kunwar. See you. Bye.